Hey Christopher L., it's Blue Fire Witch. It's been a very, very long time since I did a video to you. Years, in fact. But I am back. Because you had made a video that sparked my interest. Now, you'd asked for your for responses to your video called I Just Saw a Demon. You asked for people's insight and people's opinions. And so, as somebody who studied the occult, demons, witchcraft, and things like that from a scholarly perspective, as well as a religious perspective, I thought that I could add a little bit of critical thinking to the matter, instead of just, maybe a different point of view from what you have. Now, you had said at the first part of your video that you knew it was a demon, that there was really no other explanation for what happened. It's not really true. I mean, from a bibliocentric point of view, there may be no other explanation. Even other Christians will disagree with you on the existence of ghosts. But if you think of it from a critical thinking point of view, you have to, examine all the possibilities. And there are more than just one. There is more than one possibility. So we have to take those into account. So I'm going to give you a few of those so that you can understand a little bit more about how well-rounded this issue is, instead of just being so straightforward as you think it is. Now, the first kind of these alternate scenarios that I'm talking about would be hallucination. Now, I've seen in the text comments that quite a few other people have brought this up. It's very common for people, especially after getting off a long drive, to experience altered state of consciousness. It's been shown that when people do something for a very long period of time, especially something, that's repetitive, like driving, you can get yourself into almost like a self-hypnotic state. And because of this, you may experience hallucinations. I mean, have you ever heard of somebody who drove a very long distance and then, forgot or blocked out parts of the drive? Well, the same thing can happen once you get home. You might, especially if you're all wired and you said yourself you were doing prayers, that you were in the spirit. Well, I can take that as that you were in a different state of consciousness when this happened. If you were in the spirit, then you had tried to get yourself into an alternate state of consciousness on top of your long driving experience, so you were, feeling that way to begin with. So it's very possible that you just hallucinated this. And it didn't have anything to do with so-called witches that stay at your daughter's college. Now, another scenario that people have posted in the comments of your video that I've seen, and that a lot of people are probably thinking, is that you made the thing up. That, it didn't actually happen, that it's something that you just used to make a point about a YouTube video or something like that. I personally don't think that one's right. I don't think that you would make something like that. I believe I believe that you believe that it happened. At least that. As for, the rest of the details, of course, I wasn't there, and I can only go by the information that you give me in your video. So if you want to provide me with more information, I'm able to come up with more scenarios. However, we can't say that it's just a straightforward thing based on what you said, because it seems to me that there are several different scenarios. And one of those possible scenarios is that it is a falsity. Now, in conjunction with that, like I said, I believe that you believe that it happened. However, it could have been a repressed memory or something else that you're using to justify something. It could be that it's, psychological feelings about your daughter going to school, and it could be that this little girl that you saw is a manifestation of that your daughter's going off to the school, she's around people that you can't control, and because of that, you're manifesting those feelings outside and creating false memories. That's possible. It's close to hallucination, really. But, like I said, I believe that you believe that it happened. I don't think that you're making it up on the whole cloth. Now, the next scenario is one that you said you thought wasn't possible, and that is that it is the spirit of a dead person. I know that you say that it can't be possible because you don't think the Bible allows that, but in critical thinking, you have to step outside of your own beliefs, because otherwise it's just confirmation bias. You're just taking what you already know and applying it to that. However, there are other scenarios outside what you already believe. You have to kind of step outside the box or step outside the Bible and examine it to see all the different scenarios that are possible. Because, and I'm not doing this video to argue the truth of the Bible or anything like that, but I can say that the Bible is not verifiable. And so because your beliefs are based on something that is not verifiable, you have to step outside those beliefs to examine other possibilities. I'm not saying that what you believe is false, although of course I don't believe it. But this video is not designed to be an argument about whether or not Christianity is true or not. In fact, I can even make a biblical argument as to, spirits of dead people existing, and that is that, and I believe it's in Revelations. They talk about the end times and the dead would rise from the graves. So there is kind of a biblical explanation for ghosts, and everybody keeps saying that we're in the end times. So in that respect, ghosts can exist in a biblical scenario. However, even if you want to argue the biblical point, we'll just put the Bible first to the side for a second, because the Bible is not verifiable, and we have to step outside that to examine all the different possibilities. So one of those is that it could be a spirit of a dead person. And that, this happened within your house. And you might think, well, if it was a spirit of a dead person, then why would that dead person be there? I'm not sure if you had previous owners to your house, if your house is built new, or what that is. But a lot of times, if something had happened in that house, where somebody had died or had been there for a long time, you can get ghosts lingering and stuff like that. At least that's from my point of view. From the studies that I have done on spirit activity and stuff like that, there are different reasons about why a ghost would hang around. But I don't have all the information on your house, so it's hard to say whether or not that's true or not. Now the next thing is something that, if you listen to paranormal investigators, that they'll talk about, and that is a time imprint. A lot of times, if something that was traumatic or emotional happened within a house or a certain place, it can create an impression in time. At least that's what the theory is. And because of that, then you might see manifestations of that impression in time, as that time period comes apart again. So if something happened in your house on March 15th, at a certain time of day, then it might, when March 15th comes back around, you might see that, That's another possibility. Now you might say, well, I've lived in this house for several years and I've never seen it before. We can go back and explain that by your alternate state of consciousness. That you had, obviously, is a great possibility that you were in an alternate state of consciousness, and that's where this ability to see this had come from, because you were much more aware, much more open in this alternate state of consciousness, and we're basically open to new things, and this was one of them. Now the last scenario, of course, would be the one that we mentioned, which is this is a non-human spirit, something that you would call a demon. Demon actually just means spirit. The word demon comes from the Greek word demon, which just means spirit. But, for rhetorical sake, to call the non-human spirits something besides just non-human spirits, we'll define those as demons. Now, there's no evidence to suggest that all demons are evil or dark-sided the way that you think they are. Just like all creatures in nature have their own agenda that may not be a human agenda, same goes with spirits in the spirit world. They are animalistic in nature sometimes, primal. You might come across one of them that's a predator, and there's others that are more prey-like. It just depends. Some are there to be your friend, some not so much. But just like if you were walking in a jungle, or some sort of forest-like environment, you might encounter some creatures that are friendly to you and some creatures that are not so friendly to you. Same thing goes with the spirit world. some of those creatures are friendly to you and some creatures are not so friendly to you. Now, once again, this is not biblical, but, we're talking about critical thinking point of view, so we're stepping outside of just the biblical scenario and examining all scenarios. So, but if you think of this logically, the spirit world is just like any other environment. There's going to be beings that are going to be friendly to you and beings that are not so friendly to you. So if you think of it that way, it makes a lot more sense than just saying, oh, it's all evil. It's just all evil. It doesn't seem to me that you were scared or felt intimidated or felt threatened by this little girl. It just seems to me that this entity, whether it's human or not human, appeared to you. Whether she had a message for you or something like that, we don't know, because it seems like you just wanted nothing to do with her, and she left. Now, you gave a possible scenario as for why you thought this incident occurred. And you thought that it had to do with your daughter hanging around the wrong types of people, namely Wiccans, which, you shouldn't give Wiccans such a bad rap, because, most of them are pretty cool people. And really, they're not that much different from you, and I'll explain that. The reason that you think the Wiccans are able to send negative spirits to your house or for that to manifest for you is because you think what they're doing is negative. You think that witchcraft is a bad thing. But if you really understood what witchcraft was, you wouldn't really think that. Because you yourself are practicing magic, and I'll explain. You said that when you walk, you visualize, beams of light or light walking with you, and that you're bringing the power of Jesus into that room. That is an occult tactic we call visualization. Now, it's something that we use within the occult community for banishment, for all sorts of magical exercises. You yourself are using that same magical exercise. You just didn't realize it was magic because you've never practiced, you've never studied it before. Witchcraft is understanding these practices and using them to your advantage. That's all that witchcraft is. This is why you can do witchcraft under the guise of just about any religion. You don't have to be a pagan to practice witchcraft for that reason. It's not tied, although it originated in the pagan era, it doesn't have to be pagan. Just like baptism originated in pagan era, it doesn't have to be pagan, right? Prayer originated in paganism, doesn't have to be pagan. So, witchcraft is the same way. Now, the Hebrews didn't really understand witchcraft, and therefore they thought it was evil. They blamed a lot of things that happened to them that were bad on witchcraft, and therefore they thought that witchcraft shouldn't be a part of their culture, and they tried to separate themselves from it, because if they separated themselves from it, then they had nothing else to blame the bad things that happened on, except, they were just not right with God. So that's why the Bible is so harsh on witchcraft. They didn't really understand what it was. So that's why I'm explaining it to you now. Because you yourself are practicing the same thing witches are, only you just didn't realize it. The same thing goes with you practicing like psychosensory abilities. You said that when you walked into a dorm room at your daughter's college, that you felt that there was a presence there that was different, what you thought was not right from God. Now, if you did in fact walk into a witch's room, which I'm not sure if you did, witches can draw all sorts of energy to them. A lot of times, they will draw spirits to them that will push out people who are against them. So you may have felt some of that protection energy that they had there against people that would, seek to do them harm. Now, you might not have wanted to actually hurt these people, but you were very much against what they were doing, and that negativity is what they're protecting themselves from. Now, that negativity that you have towards that can also manifest, and you could have brought that demon to your house yourself, because you're A, practicing magic, and you're not protecting yourself in any way, and B, you have this pent-up negativity towards the actions that are going on at your daughter's college. So those two things can spell demon activity, very much so. So it's not necessarily the Wiccans that did this to you. You could have done it to yourself. in that respect. Now, if you're still interested in learning more about visualization techniques and psychic energy and stuff like that, I'd be more than willing to give you, to give you a few pointers and exchange some emails and things like that. But what you're doing when you do that, regardless of what deity you call on, it's witchcraft, baby. It's the same thing the witches do, only you didn't realize it was magic. Now, the word witch comes from the word wise, which means we're aware. We know what's going on around us. We know these practices. So the difference between you and a witch is that the witch knows what they're doing and you didn't know. Now, I wanted to comment on another thing you said, because I want you to maybe understand there's really not that much difference between our communities. You were talking about prayer and being in the spirit. Now, of course, when you pray, you're trying to become closer to deity. In your case, Jesus Christ, God, that type of thing. When I pray, I'm trying to get closer to my deities. But did you know that it doesn't matter who you pray to, the results are about the same? That if you pray to Jesus, or you pray to Buddha, or you pray to one of the Greek gods or one of the Norse gods, your prayers are answered just about the same amount. Now, have you ever wondered about that? I'm not sure if you have. Here's my theory on that. I think the divine answers by many names. I think that when I pray the divine, I am praying to the divine. I think when you pray to the divine, you're praying to the divine. It's why when all this stuff happened with my son, which I'm not sure if you know about, but I had a son that was born very premature. He was born June 4th. He was supposed to be born September 18th. And because of that, I had a lot of outpouring of prayer. People offered to pray for me. And it didn't make a difference to me what religion they were. I accepted their prayers, because that's energy. That's energy from them, and it's also them connecting with their deity. And I think that spirituality is great no matter where it comes from, as long as you're not condemning other people. Anyway, I would love to hear your feedback on this video. I'm not doing this to try to condemn you or make you seem, wrong or anything like that. I'm just trying to kind of open your mind to different scenarios about that. I don't want you to be scared about that, because, right now you're so defensive about these witches at your daughter's college. You don't want her to accept things from them and things like that. But if you understand that all they're doing is connecting with deity the way that they see it, then it's really not so wrong, is it?